Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes,
there you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Patero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred metres as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And Armstrong,
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Welcome back, everybody. Stage 4, the Tour de France 2024. This is Tyler Yonke. I told you I was going to do an episode today, and I'm getting it done. Maybe a little later than, well, I couldn't do it this morning. Things happen. So anyway, here we are. Stage 4. What's the where to where? We've got it from Amiens Métropole to Rouen, 174.2 kilometers. And as I stated yesterday, there was going to be some action going on. There was going to be, yes, Victor's in here. BTW Between Two Wheels is live. Thanks, Victor, for coming in and liked. Awesome. Glad you did so. Let's do it. Let's see. Yeah, we could even have the chat coming in there a little bit. Okay, so look, I told you it was going to be an interesting stage, and I also said it was going to have a little bit of who's gonna do this. It was hard to make predictions, but one of the predictions was Van der Poel. Another prediction was Tade. Is that who we're going to get? Well, possibly. Let's take a look once again at the route. There you go, 174.2 kilometers. This thing was up and down, especially in the later part of the. And by the way, the breakaway. There was an interesting part of the breakaway that we actually had, and we'll get into some of that as well. Let me see. I think we have. Let's go here so I could take a look at this. We have the 174.2 kilometers, and now you can see at the end all these climbs stacked on the end, and some of these were going to be pretty tough. You can see here there's a Côte de Jacques-Anquetil. This is the first climb, Cat 1, not so big. The Côte de Belbouf, 9.3, 1.3 kilometers. It starts to get a little bit more hot and heavy. You had the Côte de Brun-Secours, that's 100.9 kilometers to 7.2, with some steep ramps in there near the top. Cat 4, Côte de la Grande Marie, 4.7%, 124 meters, 1.8 kilometers. And then the Rampe Saint-Hilaire. This is the one, a little bit more of a kicker. What is it? It's 0.8 kilometer. No, yeah, is it 0.8 kilometers? Yeah, 0.8 kilometers at 10.3, and you had some sticky parts in there, so it was always going to be a bit. And then what's not on the here, the profile, which is the very finish, had a little uphill kicker. I wasn't aware of that, but yes, it had a little uphill kicker, and so we had to deal with that as well. And with that in mind, it's like, well, who's gonna take control of this? It depends on who comes into the finish. I said Kevin Vauquelin could be there. Tade, you're expecting it to be there. Mathieu van der Poel, obviously Jonas, a few of these other people. Were we going to have a Evenepoel? Were we going to have Roglic? Who else was going to be in there the day before the time trial? And so we will take a look here at the Tour de France. Let's take a look at the stage and kind of the highlights as we've done throughout this race. Let's go here. They start off by talking about Brian Coquard. Now, I feel for this guy. The whole team is like a little bit upset at this situation where Cofidis is getting shit on a bunch. And they talk about it a little bit. You know, there's the wreck. Brian Coquard, I don't think it's his fault. I don't think he should have been DQ'd for it. But either way, he was DQ'd. Well, he wasn't DQ'd, but he was penalized and fined for it. What was interesting, let's see if I can find this here, because I think this is, Let's. This is a little bit of Lance Armstrong's The Move podcast.
Notice this young rider on what used to be Team DSM.
That's not where we wanted. I think it's. Sorry, I thought I had it queued up, but I guess I don't here.
Seen on in terms of crank length. You know, these I think they're going short, and they were.
Did you go bigger on your record? Right, it was about because that's the hardest thing.
I missed it
media. G and I have already been on Zillow this morning
social media.
To sue haters. I know, but
Here we go.
Haters. On social media.
Man, we're about to make some paper.
I know, but this is breaking news because if you're allowed to sue haters on social media,
Okay, I missed it. Let's back up here. I'm sorry. Here it is. I'm not going to edit this out, but here we go.
it's a lot of it seems broken collarbone out of the race. Cocard gets a lot of seems to have received most of the blame for that crash. I still am on the fence and or almost in support of him with a lot going on. But Team Cofidis was just sick of it. They're sick of the social media haters. They are going to take action. They are going to sue haters on social media.
Man, we're about to make some paper.
I know, but this is breaking news because if you're allowed to sue haters on social media, G and I have already been on Zillow this morning.
On social media,
We've been on Zillow. There's a $45 million thing up on Red Mountain.
we're looking at yachts, Yeezys,
Maybe.
Okay, so my point here is Lance Armstrong's talking about, hey, you're going to be able to sue for these things. Let's take a remembrance. Let's go down memory lane here and talk about Lance Armstrong and lawsuits. He had multiple lawsuits against Frankie Andreu and his wife. I think they were part of it. I mean, newspapers over and over. He was suing everybody. If you said he was doping, right? That's what he was doing. That was his modus operandi. He was just doing that all the time. And so it's hilarious to see him. Sue. Yeah, that's the shit you used to do. But you were winning these lawsuits, and then it came back to bite you later on, right? These were these lawsuits ended up with people that were actually speaking out against it, and next thing you know, you had to go on Oprah and complain. Okay, so I think, look, good luck. Now I will say in France, the defamation laws. You may not know this. I'm an attorney, and the defamation laws in other countries than the U.S. are much easier to get a judgment. Okay, so be careful what you say. But are they going to be able to? If you're saying it here in the U.S., are they really going to be able to reach out and if you're never going to France, no, you're going to be fine. Okay, so there's Cocard. There's the finish. We talked about that. Let's just keep going. We talked about the stage comes out here. Abrahamson, Lenny Martinez is up there. Of Total Energy. So then you got the guys on the. But I wanted to do here. So this was the guys. Casper Asgren for EF is up the road. Lenny Martinez, he had real hard time on stages 1. We've seen that he was not feeling well or something. Thomas Gankenard of what team is he with? And Jonas Brohansen. He must be Total Energies. So Total Energies French guy. Lenny Martinez. For Bahrain, French guy, Casper Asgreen, he's up there for EF, and then you have Jonas Abrahamson, who was in the KOM jersey for a lot last year. He was up in those breaks a lot. So you can see teams are what are they going to do? At one point, EF is and Lenny Martinez is trying to go up the road, get some sprint. Good for Lenny, and then he broke off from everybody. Lenny. He did a good job of at least making the break interesting, but it was never really going to be out of control because Alpecin de Koenig is coming in for these last bit of climbs. They're going to light things up and have it there for their man, Vanderpool. Okay, the problem that they really have, though, is once, and you're going to see this later on, which is they can light it up, but they didn't want to light it up too much because what they wanted to be able to have Mathieu van der Poel, in the lead. They wanted to have him up there in the front. But really, they didn't want it to be where he's going to be too softened up with these climbs because it's not as easy for him to get over them as it is Jonas and as it is Tadej. So UAE's, and we're going to see this come into the idea here, they're like, oh, then what we want to do is soften everybody up because when we come into the final, we want Tadej be able to take the sprint. We saw just the other day on, stage 2, where Tadej gets beat to the line by Mathieu van der Poel because Van der Poel is just more his thing. That sprint he can out sprint him. But in certain circumstances, everything's equal. Tadej is an amazing rider. And if you can soften up someone like Mathieu van der Poel, then his level starts to chip down. All his little armor, the way he's able to defend against these things, starts to get chipped away, pushed off, and next thing you know, these two are at least on equal footing. And if they're on equal footing, then you have a tactical battle coming into the sprint at the finish that could determine if you have a teammate to lead you out. Maybe, you know, Van der Poel, what I've seen from him, and it's worked a few times, San Remo for one, where he goes early on the sprint, takes them by surprise. They don't think he can do it, and then he holds them off. Other ones, he's taken the sprint early and not been able to take the win. So there's been some problems. Now, he took the sprint a little bit early the other day in the one with Tadej, and he was able to hold everyone off at the line. But it would be best if he didn't. So perhaps, you know, Caden Groves could have him up there. Now, they go through a little bit, and then Visma comes to the front, and they've got Tish Benoot, they've got Wout. And I'm like, oh, maybe they're working this for Wout today. Could be, depending on how the pace is going to go. Other people had different ideas in mind, being UAE. But regardless, nevertheless, Campenarts comes to the front. And we talked about this. Remember the breakdown of Geraint Thomas and Luke Rowe comparing the what is it, 2018, or was it the 2018 Tour de France team with the 2025 Jumbo Visma one, and they're like, Campenarts. No, you've got to wait till this race is over to evaluate the 2025 team. So far, Campenarts is in here doing, I mean, he's on the front for quite some time, drilling it for them. They have Tish Benoot, they have Matteo, they have Jonas, they have Wout. They have enough guys up there in Campenarts. Okay, they're doing just fine. But as they come into some of these climbs, then UAE decides to get on the front. And 5.5 kilometers to go. Wellens is up there drilling it, and then Almeida's up there. Well, they had Soler at first, and there's a few of these, and I think this is the second to last climb. Tadej decides to go hard. Jonas had to bridge just a bit because he's on the wheel of the guy in front there, and I want to say it was Almeida or Narvaez. Maybe it was Narvaez actually out there at that point. Jonas is able to jump. He's the only one. Immediately you can see this gap forming up this super steep ramp, and Tadej is putting it all together. But Jonas is holding steady. The group behind, it's Evenepoel looking to do some pacing. He's got Matteo Jorgensen on his wheel. Matteo's just saying, you guys go up the road. Mathieu van der Poel is back there. No teammates left for him. Raymond Gregoire is back there. Oscar Onley. There's a bit of a group, and then there's some different segments here. But what we want to show here is at Tadej, then he starts to open up just a little bit of a gap. Jonas looks back, and when Jonas looks back, he kind of sits up and lets, and as you can see, Tadej also puts the power down, and so it's a combo of Jonas looking back, kind of like, I'm at my limit, Tadej hitting the power a little bit more and making some separation, and you're like, I've been here before. I've seen this movie so many times. We've seen it with Tour of Flanders. We've seen it with Liège. We've seen it with the Tour last year. A little bit of a gap. We saw it in the Dauphiné as well. No one can go with Tadej, and he is gone. But actually, he's not. He keeps going on, and I don't know if he's at his limit so much, but Jonas sees the finish line here. They're about 100 meters to the top, and Jonas kicks on further and is able to close him down as they go over the top for the KOM. Now, here's the bummer with the KOM. The KOM now goes to Tadej. Tadej is back in the polka dot jersey. He has to wear the polka dot jersey tomorrow, Stage 5's time trial. This makes a difference. This means you're wearing the Tour de France, whoever's making their jersey, instead of your own rainbow jersey. Well, you wouldn't wear the rainbow jersey in the time trial, but because that's going to be Evenepoel, but your own specially designed, jersey and skin suit. It makes a difference, especially on a time trial, but it's only 33 kilometers, so it should be fine. Jonas goes over the top. Meanwhile, in the back here, you've got, let's see if we can take off this closed caps. We can't. Meanwhile, in the back here, you've got Evenepoel doing some nice pacing. Matteo's on his wheel. Then you've got Oscar Onley. Then you've got Mathieu van der Poel, and on Van der Poel's wheel is João Almeida, who's doing a fine job as a teammate. Oscar is hanging on the back, and then coming from behind here, I want to say this is perhaps Vauquelin with Skilmos. They're trying to catch up as well. In the last kilometer, Matteo Jorgensen. Now, Matteo had also tried to do a little bit of attack earlier. It wasn't really, it was kind of nullified, but he comes in here at 1 kilometer to go, makes an attack. I'm kind of surprised that Jonas didn't try at least to make an attack too when they Tadej was able to claw back on Matteo. It's like maybe you 1-2 him. I don't know. It seems like to be a good deal, but I did like this move here by Matteo, which is like, let's go for the win. I might be able to be just left out, but the problem is João Almeida's back there with Tadej, and he does the nice thing of clawing Matteo back. They come into the last bit here, up the climb. You can see now Evenepoel had also tried to make, I think it was Evenepoel, not Matteo, had tried to make a break earlier. He looked really wobbly around these corners. Not so much. They were able to string him in, and then you're coming in here to the finish. João Almeida doing what he needs to do. I want to look back here just a little bit. So here's the makeup. You've got João Almeida. He's doing a good job on the front of bringing this back. Then you've got Evenepoel. Then you've got Jonas. Then you have Mathieu van der Poel. And on van der Poel's wheel is Tadej. And then back behind him is Romain Gregoire. Coming in here is Vauquelin and then Skilmos. I'm saying this order because Mathieu van der Poel, especially with an uphill sprint, dude, you can save it till the last minute. Okay, you don't have to lead. This isn't a downhill sprint. This isn't your head. This is uphill, which it's I take it as someone who did a lot of sprinting and then did a lot of lead out. An uphill sprint can be very much like an headwind sprint, okay? Which is you can leave it to the last minute. You could come around someone literally in the last 20, 30 meters of a sprint, and it can happen because it's uphill. It's a slower mechanism to unwind, which means you don't need or necessarily even have to lead anything out from the front. You can come from several people places behind. Depends, obviously, on the steepness. The closer you want to get there, the better. So here, once again, you see this dynamic coming in here, João Almeida. But as João Almeida is starting to close down Matteo, you can see on the backside here that slowly the yellow jersey in Mathieu van der Poel is making a big move from behind João, from behind Evenepoel, moving his way. And Jonas, he's moving his way. Now he's like half wheeling, and he's beside João Almeida. Now, I know he was anxious here. I just think this is where he made the mistake. This is where they made the mistake. He didn't have a teammate to lead things out, but Tadej does. So maybe you just let things go. Even Jonas had Matteo up there. They catch Matteo. João Almeida does an incredible job today of lighting it up. He's still, once again, Mathieu van der Poel is on João's wheel. I think this is the wrong place to be because João ends up coming around the corner, coming up to the last 250, and then it's what 200 meters or so here to go. Mathieu van der Poel decides to head out, and I'm sorry, you're leading this out from the front. It's a bit of an uphill sprint still, but Tadej is going to end up coming around because you've had it out there in the too long, and you can tell Mathieu van der Poel takes a look over to his left. He comes even with Tadej. He drops back down in the saddle. He does try to kick up again. Jonas looked like he might have had enough to come around, and it's once again these three, the best of the rest. Matteo comes in behind them all, and there you go. The rainbow jersey, his 100th win. Tadej Pogačar, the 2025 Tour de France Stage 4 winner. Looking resplendent there, and there is some more photos. So we'll go through the live stats. We already did that. There you go. Tadej Pogačar, Mathieu van der Poel, Jonas Vingegaard, and then Oscar only a little bit gap to him, but they didn't time it on there. Romain Gregoire in 5th. João Almeida, who did a lot of that work chasing down Matteo, still comes in at the same time on 6th. Remco Evenepoel loses 3 seconds. There's a tad bit of a gap there on that sprint. Matteo Jorgensen comes in with him, and then you got Skilmos, Kevin Vauquelin, and then the next group at 30 seconds back, Wout, Ariane Parapente, Alex Baudin for EF Education, Jonathan Narvaez, Tobias Johannesson, Tish Benoot, Enric Mas. So the GC ones, I'm kind of losing some spots here. Enric Mas, Primoz Roglic, they lose 32 seconds. That's not so good. I mean, look, Skilmos loses a tad bit up here. Matteo and Remco, 3 seconds, but, and then the little bonus times, they're still doing pretty good. Hershey, Lutsenko, not really the GC guys, what I would say. Carlos Rodriguez for Ineos, he drops another 39 seconds. Just not impressed with him this race. Jack Haig coming in there for Bahrain once again at the 30th. Christian Rodriguez, he's not good. Felix Gall, he had a tough time. This just is not his kind of race. Florian Lipowitz, I was very surprised about that. I did not expect to see him get jettisoned as early as he did. He limited it to just 54 seconds lost. Buitrago had a tough time as well. Guillaume Martin, Ben O'Connor, a big loss of 1:49. I don't know if that wreck the other day that he was involved in was that on stage 2, where he's in the front group with Jonas, where they lit everybody up, or was that stage 1? And then he ended up going down. I think he had a little bit of a knee issue. I don't know if that's his problem. Who knows? But you can't be losing time like this. Sepp Kuss and Nielsen Palace back at there at 2:30. I believe, I'm hoping this is the case. Quinn Simmons, he's back here at 70th place. He did a lot of good work early on for Jonathan Milan in the intermediate sprints. We'll look at those results real quick. But then also for Skilmos coming up to the last few climbs there, putting him in a good position. So here's the GC going in there. Not much, a little bit of a time bonus loss here. Pogacar, were they tied on time? 8 seconds back. Is Jonas. Mateo's at 19, Kevin Vauquelin at 26, Enric Mas at 48, Only at 55, Remco Evenepoel at 58 seconds, Roglic back here at 127, and then, Carlos Rodriguez, 205. So, what do we else we have? Let's look at the compliments. So the break was taking the KOMs. They were taking the sprints here today. But Jonathan Milan did take the sprint, at least for the best of the rest, over Biniam Girmay and Tim Miller. Lenny Martinez took some KOMs. Pogacar took that one KOM there. Once again there. Youth Day classification, Oscar only. It's coming up on that. Most combative, Lenny Martinez, as you would expect. Victor says, will you see, hang on. Will you see some interesting American Tour de France racing? Good question, because I'm going to go into, first of all, let's look at the fines, and then we'll answer that question. Fines, Remco had a fine today, 25 penalty points, no time though, 500 Swiss francs for disposing of waste outside the litter zone. Okay. And then let's go to stage profiles here, because we're going to take a look at tomorrow's stage. And this is where I'm actually, back to Sepp Kuss real quick. I'm expecting, as far as Americans go, Victor, I'm expecting you're going to see a lot coming from, I believe, my prediction, Nielsen Palace coming up in the next few weeks. Once the GC stuff kind of shakes some things out, and maybe mid to late in the race, he's going to get in some breakaways, some of these mountain stages. He's going to have an opportunity to go for a stage win. That's the Nielsen Palace way, and I think that's a good way. He really does well when there's a lot of mileage in the legs. So that's for him. Sepp Kuss, I believe, because you're not seeing him at all in these punchy stages. He's losing 2:30, but he's not losing very much time. But I think I'm presuming that Jumbo is like, look, Sepp, ride in, keep your fitness, you get your motor running, do what you're doing there by coming in the top 50 or so in some of these stages. But let's save yourself, because you are going to be needed stages, 11 plus the second half of the tour for all these mountains. Okay, De La Loz, that ride up there, we've seen what he can do. Actually, he had a chance to win that with Primoz a few years ago. He did fall on that, 2 years ago, had that big gash over his eye when Jonas was able to, remember, he tacked Tadej, and Tadej's like, I'm dead, go. That was what he said into the radio. So I believe they're saving him and hopefully Simon Yates for the big mountains. And they're just like, right now, we don't need you. And what you're doing is you're seeing a lot of work done by Tish, Wout, Campenarts. Those guys are doing a lot of the work on these short, punchy climbs, doing what they need to. And then you got Matteo Jorgensen, who is kind of their second fiddle, right? We saw what he can do last year. And I think that is kind of their thing, where it's just like, dude, you keep up there the state, because that's the next prediction, which is, I've said, I believe Matteo is going to get himself a possible stage win tomorrow. He could be in the yellow jersey, possibly. Let's what I wanted to do here is kind of go back and see if we can see any of his results this year. individual time trial. Let's take a look here. So individual time trial at the Dauphiné, he was third. So stage 4, he was third. You had Remco. You had Jonas at 20 seconds, and then you had Matteo at 37. He did do better than Tadej, which was maybe I'm wrong about this, but I do believe he can actually outdo Jonas. I don't know if he can change that 37 seconds. Maybe, but that's what we've seen him in time trial as far as this year. What do we have? He was first. He did win this stage. Paris-Nice, he was, that was the team time trial. So, it's not individual. Last year, how did he do in the Tour de France as far as the individual time trial? He was 7th in the first time trial that we had there. 7th place, 53 seconds behind Remco. That profile, though, you can see it's just a little bit more of a lump to it. Remco's just fast. I don't know if he's going to actually win, but I think he's going to end up mixing in those top 3 places. I think there's a really good chance that he's going to end up doing that. But then you do have to remember last year in the final stage going into Monaco, he did end up putting in one of the better times. And you had Tadej, you had Jonas, you have Evenepoel, and then you had Matteo. I guess he was still, 40 some seconds there, maybe 47, so what, 47 seconds or so, behind, Matteo. So I'm sorry, or behind Remco. So, maybe, but that was last year. We're going into this. I'm predicting good things for him. And let's take a look then at the, time trial for tomorrow. Where are we at here? There we go. There is the time trial, pan flat, 3 time checks. So it's, it should be pretty interesting. We can take a look at actually who's going to win. So that is Wednesday. Then we have Thursday. This is a breakaway. It depends what happens. If tomorrow's time trial, let's hope that we have tomorrow's time trial that doesn't separate the top very much. Like Remco, even Roglic, maybe he comes back into it a little bit, has a good one. Maybe Matteo, Jonas, Tadej, they're all just kind of in there within 10, 15 seconds of each other. And it doesn't do anything besides one of them gets the yellow jersey. Because I don't believe, Matthew van der Poel is necessarily going to have the yellow jersey after tomorrow. But you got Thursday, stage 6. This is a Van der Poel type of stage, right? We've just seen what we had. Now this looks worse from start to finish. 200 kilometers. Today's was 174. This is an additional 30 kilometers, and it's got more climbs in it. This could be GC day, but it's kind of your punchy GC day, right? So I think it's a kind that could take out a Ben O'Connor even more and maybe solidify your Tadejs and your Jonases going in here. So, but it could be a day for Matthew van der Poel, how we've seen him race. So maybe he just takes tomorrow somewhat easy, the time trial, and then, just loses it, but then has a chance to, have this comeback. That's Thursday. Friday, we actually have this, which is 197. Now, the Mur... this is the stage Mur de Bretagne, which Mathieu van der Poel won a few years ago. He won his first stage of the Tour de France. He also went into the yellow jersey. This is made type of finish for him. It's got this punch up there. I think Daniel Martin. What's his name? It's Nicholas Roach's cousin. He's won it before. We'll take a look here when we actually go do that stage. This is for, what is it, Saturday, and then this does this every time. And then stage 9. Still, this is a boring weekend we're going to have, people. And then stage 10, we finally get some things, but I think this is Monday. So we'll get a rest day, and then stage 10, finally into some mountains. This is a crazy way to start your second week. And then Toulouse, this is going to be nasty as well. So we'll get there when we get there. Right now, we don't need to worry about that too much more. So predictions, Remco, Tadej, Jonas, Matteo. I think those are going to be your top 4. You're going to get someone sneaking else up into there, and you're always going to get a surprise. But I think those are your top 4 time trials. And you get a Wout. I don't know if Wout's how he's doing. He did some decent racing today. Maybe you'll get Wout. Maybe some of these stages that we're talking about, like 5 and 6, maybe that's a Wout day. I don't know what Jumbo Visma's idea has been for trying to save him a little bit. but that will be an interesting one. So tune in tomorrow. Let me see, tomorrow, working a bunch. Maybe we'll try to do this in the evening again. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are as well. Other than that, go Tour de France, go USA. We will see you tomorrow.